It's a beautiful, bright, sunny day outside. I'm sitting in the shade of the tree, open sky to my left, a reflector on my right. I'm trying basically to create portrait lighting outdoors, regardless of the environment or the lighting conditions. Sometimes we use just natural light. Sometimes we add 1 or 2 reflectors. Other occasions call for bright strobes or even a bare bulb, a strobe without the reflector on it. All the different situations can be controlled if you know what to look for. So come with me and let's review some of the things that we've done in the past, and I'll bring you right up to now. We'll look at some of the past issues of the Wedding Photographer's Notebook in which I discussed outdoor posing and lighting. And then we'll go on a live shoot with the class. You'll be by my side and with everybody else having the fun and the excitement of photographing outdoors. It's going to be a total challenge to all of us. You're going to be involved with all the conditions that we ran across. Even at sometimes you'll hear workmen in the background. But the sound was so good, I didn't want to cut it out. So, the same as you, we're working with the conditions. We're leaving all the sounds in the videotape so you can hear it as it actually happened. Let's review and come right up to the present. And I know you're going to enjoy the tape. Thank you. Going back to one of my very first issues of the Wedding Photographer's Notebook, I find that I still like what I did way back then. I started by selecting the background the same as I do now. In this case, a light, sunny background with a couple posed in the shade. I'm exposing a 30th at 5/6 for their skin tones and letting the background go light and overexposed. 150mm lens on all these allow me to do full lengths and come in close. And of course, the closer you come in like this for the profiles, the more out of focus the background. Leaning her back, letting her foot kick out, holding each other. These are the directions that I'm giving today, the same as back then. And coming in closer, for the first time, they're in bright sunlight. So now I need a silver reflector to my left to open up their face and balance it. No reflector here, just lying her on the ground, putting him on top, and having fun, just rubbing noses or touching noses. Everybody is having a ball. And then he just holds her, tucks her in his arms, cares for her, and we're getting the expressions. Here for the first time, I'm combining sunlight and strobe. The bright sun coming through the back and flash from the front covered with a yellow gel to simulate the color of the late afternoon sunlight. Photographing people outdoors where I'm not getting direct sunlight, I usually find an area beside a tree where I can let the open sky light from one side and the shade fall in on the other. I'm taking the exposure meter reading of their faces, pointing the exposure meter right towards the camera, and then planning the groups to get light in all their eyes. I'm not turning their faces towards the open sky or the lighting would be flat. Instead, I'm coming in from a 45-degree angle to the tree to keep the side of their faces in shadow. Instead of looking for a dark background outside, I much prefer sunlight in the background and also shining on the back of the heads. Then I'll come in with a reflector here to open up and give direction of light from the front. The strong background light in this photograph needs a weak bare bulb strobe near camera to open up the shadows and give it better balance. A high camera position here gave us a very simple background where there was none. This is all natural light coming onto his profile, lying on his back, and her on top of him. In the next photograph, we used a reflector to open up the light because they were so much in shadow. Here's another instance of a very busy background being simplified by selecting a high camera position so that you see just the ground behind them. Bright sunlight dabbling on the background and on their hair, and a bare bulb strobe off to my left to open up the shadowed area and balance it with a strong background. This photograph had to be made while the sky still had some light in it, and also when the lights on the bridge came on. F8 with the strobe on the camera, F8 with the strobe behind her, and natural light falling on the bridge. Posing a whole family like this on the steps, I usually come in at a 45-degree angle and use the natural incline of the steps to give us the diagonal line. This is all natural light, a 30th at 5/6. You may want to pause the video while you're looking at the close-ups of these groups so that you can study the compositions. They're seated on chairs, on arms of the chairs, standing. We've got everybody arranged so no two heads are together at the same level, and no two heads are above each other unless there's a row of people in between them. When I get two people like this, I just ask them to hug each other, kiss her, kiss him, look at each other, have fun. He even lies her down on the ground and nibbles on her cheeks, and we get great candids. In this fun wedding party group, a wide-angle 40-millimeter lens allowed me to come in close to the bride and groom and put the whole wedding party in behind them. 1/60th f8 through a polarizing filter. Here again is my typically backlit situation. Sunlight streaming in from behind the bride, backlighting her veil in the trees, a 30th at 5/6, and a silver reflector opening up the shadowed face. I used a 60-millimeter lens to pose the bride all in natural light. The sunlight streaming through the window just out of camera range to the right created the highlights on the bride and the shadows on the wall. In this issue, there are a lot of outdoor pictures from this wedding. I'm exposing on the left for the shadowed part of their faces and allowing the background to go overexposed. A strobe behind the tree is highlighting her profile. The faces of the whole wedding party here were in deep shadow. I used a simple light on camera at f11 to balance the light in the background. Here I used a very weak strobe off to the right to give shape and detail to the cake in their faces, but not to overpower the ambient light. A 30th at 5/6 seems to perfectly expose the shadowed faces when they're backlit like this by the afternoon sun. Two reflectors are lighting each of their profiles. I've got her face turned towards the reflector on my right side here, but as soon as I bring him into the picture, I move the reflector to the left. When they turn to look at each other, there's no light at all on his profile until I bring a reflector in behind her just out of camera range to put the light on his face. We're switching now from a 150-millimeter lens to a 40-millimeter lens to include a lot in the background. Because the lighting is so strong behind her, I'm using a strobe at f11 to my left to keep the focus of attention on her. I know that this portrait looks exactly like just natural light, and I'm glad of that. But in actuality, that's a little strobe behind her highlighting her hair, and there's another bare bulb strobe off to the right to give shape to her face. A reflector to the left just wraps the light around. Now she's posed in deep shade. I'm putting a reflector off to my right and taking an exposure meter reading with the reflector in place. Then adding him to the picture and not even caring that the background is so overexposed. I like the effect. We're still taking an exposure meter reading with a single reflector in place, posing him first and bringing her behind and on top. A dull, overcast day creates a beautiful fill light. A 40-millimeter lens gives us the whole expanse of the coastline. When I turn their faces towards each other, his profile picked up a natural light. I needed to put a bare bulb strobe behind Clay just out of camera range to light her profile. A high camera position and tall grass created this background. Strong sunlight overexposed it while I exposed for her face. There's no light on her face until we place a bare bulb off to my left to shape the front of her face. Look at the difference now. You see the outline of the front of her face. Now she's seated in exactly the same pose. The bare bulb strobe off to my left is so subtle you don't even realize it's there. But now when we bring him into the picture, both heads are turned to my right, so the strobe moves over to the other side. The same pose standing. Both heads turned and tipped in the same angle towards the light source creates a smooth pattern of light on their faces. But here, the sunlight is so strong coming from the left, I had to use a strong flash on my right side to open up the shadows. A high camera position here kept the background grass. By lowering the camera position, the same spot now has the water as a background, and a strobe at a camera range behind Clay is lighting her profile to match the direct sunlight on his face. We found this beautiful setting for the Notebook issue in England. I wanted to show the environment, but still focus the attention on the people. I tried wherever possible to use natural light and supplement it very carefully with a bare bulb strobe just to add the highlights where I needed them. I used a 40mm lens here to show the environment behind them and added the light to her face from a strobe out of camera range behind the groom. A light close to the camera here opened up the whole shadowed side of their faces, and I placed their profiles against a simple setting. Natural sunlight coming from behind her and a bare bulb strobe off to my left shaped her face. Then we added the groom to the picture. We turned her face back to the natural light, turned his profile to her, and once again placed a bare bulb strobe off to the right. When I turned their faces towards each other, I placed the strobe out of camera range behind him to light her profile. Now we're using a 60mm lens to confine the group within the building so that no sky shows. As we build the groups, we put a bare bulb just out of camera range in the background to the left to separate them from the background. 1/30 f5.6. Now again we're using available light combined with strobe. The strobe is just inside the archway to light her profile. All natural light with a 40mm lens, just taking advantage of the lines and the direct sunlight on both of their faces. They're under a porch here I exposed for the natural light and just brought in a bare bulb strobe off to my right to shape them a little bit more definitively. I used a 40mm lens here so I could include all the arches in the background. I posed the bride close to the lens, added the two girls, put the men in between them, and used all available light. I enjoy using a 40mm lens when I want to show environment around the subject, but I still need the subject up close to dominate the picture. I'll take a reading of the light in the background and set the exposure for that. Then bring a bare bulb in to my left to light her and the two of them together. The same amount of light on them as there is in the background provides a perfect balance. Now we've placed them further into the background, turned their bodies and faces, so I'm now using profile lighting, one bare bulb strobe off to the left to balance the light in the room. Just recently, I took some of my favorite outdoor pictures and published them in 2 posing and lighting guides. Let's look at a few of those photographs now and see how they were created. She's covered on the top by the natural overhang of the porch. Her face is turned from the natural light openings so that she has shadows on the side of the face closest to the camera. Her profile against a solid, plain background. I split light his face with the natural daylight coming in through the arches, and then brought in a bare bulb strobe at a 45-degree angle to his face and let the light wrap around. This family group began with a portrait of the mother with her two daughters, and then we added the father. A low camera position hides the feet and focuses attention on the faces. Bear bulb to my left. One of my favorite family portraits. Everybody has his own personality in this picture, and we allow it to shine through. No smiles, no tears, but a wonderful memory for the family. Backlit and one strobe. One strobe here, off to my right, crossing over her body and balancing the light on her face with the light in the background. The same amount of strobe as there was ambient light. What appears to be natural lighting here is actually a strobe in profile position, and the backlighting on her head is completely by natural light. Everything against a simple background. A high camera angle can always simplify the background. As long as their faces are in subdued light, we can always come in with a bulb and light their faces to match the background. We decided that the background here was very important, the snow on the bushes. We overexposed it a 15th at f4 to make it pure white, and then matched the couple with f4 on them. A late afternoon shoot at the beach found the sun setting so quickly I had to work with them facing directly into the sunlight and just reflectors for fill-ins. Here, from a very, very low camera angle and a 350 millimeter lens, we isolated the faces against the sky. An effective and simple portrait can be created just by asking them to turn their bodies towards each other, put their arms around each other, and push their cheeks together. In this situation, we turned her face to a 2/3 view, used only a reflector below her face, and her eyes back to the camera. Well, how did he get into this? What I was doing was demonstrating for them how I would like them to bring their faces together. He sits down and she cuddles up right in front of him, and we're able to create portraits like this, asking her just to put her face right up against his, and he's looking straight into the camera. Two simple poses bring people together, either bodies parallel to each other like this or arms around each other. And I keep working to continue a flowing series of pictures, never stopping but always coaching and directing to keep the spontaneity and the excitement going. The 350 millimeter lens gave way to 150 millimeter here to get the full lens. Low camera angle, simple clothing outlined against the sky, and constantly directing them to do their own thing. Here he's showing his strength, his agility, and they're having a ball. I selected this setting because I liked the light coming through the leaves in the background, the solid greenery, and the backlighting on her hair. Here and in the next picture, I measured the light and exposed for the background and balanced it with the strobe on their faces. In the following photograph, you'll see that the detail is not showing outside. Here I'm balancing the strobe with the natural daylight that's coming in the windows. The background is way overexposed. I selected a high camera angle here so I could isolate these people against the solid area of the water. Backlit, all available light, the same as here, except now I'm adding a strobe in front. They're on the porch of their house in shadows. The strobe balances the light behind. Here I'm also inside the doorway, shooting outside, backlit. The reflection of the light off of the house is filling in the shadows. But here we needed to use a strobe because the sunlight was so strong behind them. The triangular composition for a group of three always works. We started here with a group of three, added the mother and father on top, completely backlit, 150 millimeter lens, strobe in all of these pictures to complete balancing the light on their faces to the strong light in the background. This simple composition with armchairs works as well as the father on the chair by himself. We're looking for casualness and spontaneity. So once we set up a portrait like this, we can bring the family around and let the pictures flow one to the other. Informal and casual, but clothing definitely planned in advance. Here we've isolated her against the background with a 150 millimeter lens again. Good posing, simple lighting, but a casual atmosphere. That's what we're looking for. The family holding hands and getting ready to walk always provides us with a simple portrait that's loved by everybody. I selected a 40 millimeter lens here because I wanted to include that whole line of pillars behind them. A bare bulb lights the two of them from the right and also her veil. The same lighting, but a 60 millimeter lens and a low camera angle to position them between the columns. I'm always selecting a camera position that isolates the people against a simple background. Bare bulb behind her and to my right lights her body and the veil. Selecting the location for this portrait was simple. I posed her in the garden setting, exposed for the background, and matched it with the strobe to my right. Here we just added the groom to the picture. And now we bring her under the tree, exposing for the face, has the background and her train totally overexposed. It definitely needs a strobe to balance. Here, completely under the tree, light direction coming from the side, lights her profile, and we bring him in behind her. During a recent class, I photographed this family natural light, but added a bare bulb strobe on top of the steps to isolate them from the background. An overcast day and a low camera angle created the basis for this portrait. A bare bulb strobe on my left crossed over her body and lit her face. Then, with the body in the same position, I turned her face to profile and brought another strobe in from profile position to shape her face against the sky. Study the body positions in all of these photographs because I'm concerned that she's sitting up, she's leaning forward, she has good posture. Casual look, but always adding a bare bulb strobe to shape the face, exposing for the ambient light and just bringing in enough light to give us dimension. Moving the light to light the face the same as we would in the studio. Every one of these exposed for the natural light, but a strobe added. Here there's no strobe. Her eyes are dark, you can't see anything. But now we've placed a bare bulb strobe off to my left, and look at the difference, how it's opened up her eyes and shaped her face. No comparison. I moved from the 150 millimeter lens to a 350. Now I'm going to step back and isolate their faces against the sky, exposing again for the natural light, but bringing in a strobe to open up the eyes and to shape the face more definitively. The same positioning of the lights outside as I would use them inside in a studio situation. Instead of exposing for the ambient light here, I overpowered it with the strobe. Printing it down to get detail made the background go much darker than it was. I selected this location because I liked the patterns on the sand, but the brim of the hat caused a lighting situation that didn't show the features or her eyes. I tried to shape the face by bringing a reflector in from my left, but I didn't like the shadows it created. I now moved the reflector to my right and got beautiful portrait lighting. Notice that I'm always keeping her body at a 45-degree angle. Okay, here comes the fun part. You're going to join me and my class live. We did a beach shoot in the midday sun, a little bit later in the afternoon. We went inside for a while, balanced some daylight coming in the window with strobe light, and finally went outside for the sunset. Always different problems and solutions. I think you're going to be able to learn a lot from it and use a lot of this in the style that you want to develop. We're here to help you, and I hope, and I'm sure, you're going to enjoy this part. Okay. The first thing that we do when we come outside is check which direction the light is coming from and what the background's going to be for the picture. We need to have light that we can control. I can control light, especially when the people are shaded. So backlighting situation is perfect. So I have to look and see if the light is fairly directly overhead. But fortunately, it's a little bit coming from that direction. So if I turn in this direction and watch and see what's coming, I need a background that's simple, that I can isolate the people from everything else that's around them. I see two perfect spots right here. So why don't we just look around here and see if you pick the same spots that I would. If you just look slowly around here, just give me an idea from your own mind where you would select. Right. Okay. Certainly right in front of the trees is going to be a really plain, simple place because it's dark in the center and it's light on the upper periphery there. And I like to have light in the background. There's some photographers who would prefer to have a dark background. If I wanted a dark background out, you know, it's all right. If I wanted a dark background, I'd just stay in the studio. The whole point of going outside is to have the feeling of outdoors in the photographs, but not have it distract. We're still not photographing the scenery, we're photographing the people, and the scenery is only setting the stage. If we're going to isolate the people against the background, we can do it with the dark background and the light background. The dark background, of course, is going to be right here in front of the bushes, and we'll be able to get all the light coming through the back of their head, giving us separation on the hair. Now what we're going to have to do is to put a amount of light on the face that'll give us some kind of shape and form to the faces. So when we're working in bright sunlight, I don't think a reflector is going to work because they'll be squinting. Whoever is posing is going to be squinting. So we have two considerations. We could use a strobe with either a bare bulb to get a weak light or a much stronger light with the reflector on the strobe. And I guess it depends on how much strong light is coming on the back of their heads. If the back of the hair is fairly toned down, we can get away with a bare bulb then close. If it's very strong sun, then we're going to have to use the reflector. So I'm not sure which we're going to do until we get to that point. The other location that I've selected is right here on the hill. We're going to come down low. We have to avoid the buildings in the background. So I like the grass, the sand, and the sky. And you can see the shadows coming directly towards us, which gives us the idea that it's totally backlit. And in that situation, I'm almost positive we're going to have to use a strobe with the reflector around it. So let's start in the subdued area here with a dark background and do a similar setup on the hill. And you see, here we're working by the bushes on a flat surface. A little bit more difficult to work on a flat surface than it is on a slope, because we want to get heads at different levels. So let's start over here, and we'll just, how about if we use the two of you? Mike, Louise? Before we even start, let's decide on the focal length of the lens we're going to use. We want to confine the background to just the area where the light and the dark meet. We don't want to see the buildings behind them. So that means we need a long focal length lens. We'll go with a 150 millimeter lens. Even before we take the picture, we can take an exposure meter. Clay, let's set up an exposure meter and see what the ambient light calls for. I'd come right here in the shade. I'd point the strobe meter towards the camera.
It's 60 at f8.5.
60 at f8. So we're rating the film at ASA 100. Exposure is going to be a 60th at f8. So you want to come in here? Louise, why don't you just sort of like curl your feet up right here. I'm going to place you out here where I get more sunlight on you, so that's good. Can you sit and just curl your feet up that way? Now I need your body to come all the way around this way to me, so you'll be at a 45-degree angle to the camera. That's our basic pose that we do inside in the studio, the feminine pose. The body at a 45-degree angle to the camera, leaning forward slightly, her shoulders turned a little bit, head turned and tipped to her high shoulder. Then all we need to do is put you right in here through here. Can you come down on your right knee and sit down on your heel so your head's closer to her, and come up tall. That's right. Come up even taller than that. I'm going to push her shoulder back just a tiny bit more. Let the hand come back here. We're going to tip her head back and turn his head to her. And this hand, how about if you close this in here and just hold her hand right here. Let's put your heads together. You notice that we're tipping the heads in the same direction. So
So let's look at the way this light is pointed here. Instead of pointing the strobe at the people, the light doesn't come out of the tip of the strobe. The light comes out of all the way around it. So we're going to turn the strobe not towards them like this or like this, because then it's going to get in the lens of the camera. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the strobe so that the back of the strobe blocks the light from getting into the lens. We're going to hit them at a basically 45-degree angle, and the light's going to come right there on their faces. Now, the reason I use this instead of with the reflector on it is because this is going to give us a much more subtle lighting from the highlights of the face to the shadows. It's not going to wipe out all the shading. The skin tones will reproduce much more delicately. So let me check the camera out now, get the camera established, and we'll figure what height we're going to use the lens at. I have their heads against a fairly dark area of the background, which is good. If I come down here, I'm getting a few more light tones of the tree. So I could actually use the camera angle here or up here. But I would much prefer to be down closer to the ground when possible, because I would like the plane of the film to be parallel to their bodies. And since their bodies are basically straight up and down, since I have the ability to come down low and still not get a distracting background, I'd prefer to do that. Okay, what we're doing here is we're isolating them with the light coming from behind and above. So it's lighting their shoulders and separating them from the background. But where he is now, he's too close to her. They can't lean forward at the waist, and her body is straight into the camera. So Louise, pull your left shoulder way back. That's it. Michael, move out from her a little bit. That's it. Now come, that's too far. Now turn your body towards her. Louise, let your left shoulder drop. Turn your left shoulder back. Michael, turn your body to her, your knee and everything. Now lean your head over to her. That's good. Louise, turn your face back to the right just a tiny bit. And Michael's got to come forward just a tiny bit so that you don't shadow him when the strobe goes. Turn your face to her just a little. Pull your body away from her some. Turn your face to the right a little bit. I want to get that light off the side of you. Great. Okay, Louise, your chin down to camera level. And both of you sitting up. Louise, pull your left shoulder back. And your face to your right just a little bit. And if you can still smile after all these instructions, we got it made. Okay, we're all set. Looking right at here. Great.
Let's study how we brought them together. We started with their bodies far enough apart so they could lean together, and then turn their heads to the bare bulb strobe at the same angle.
A family group of you and your daddy, right? Shake. 5.
5. Boom.
Okay, let's go. Here's what we need to do. Chuck, I want to see how I can get you without the sunlight being directly on your face. And we're going to hide your legs behind each other. So why don't you come up on top of the hill and keep holding him so that he's comfortable. As you just sit on the grass, you got it. Chuck, Chucky, and Cindy, I'm sorry. Chuck, let your feet go behind your wife. Cindy, sit in front of him on the ground. Now you have to come up forward so that you're level with her. Cindy, turn your body around to him so your shoulders are about 45 to me. Keep turning your body around. And just, that's it. You got your feet anchored in the sand. Chuck, lean over to her. Cindy, look in here. Great. Okay, let me just see what's happening. Coming right here. Cindy, turn your body to him some. Lean forward. Chuck, lean over to her. Cindy, let's tip your head back this way. Can you get your faces real close together? Okay, Chucky, how we doing?
Are you sleepy, Chucky?
Are you having a good time, Chucky? Okay. What we're going to need is a strong light here.
Let's push that test button and see what we get. looks good. Let's try it again.
What are you seeing? Tell us what you're seeing here.
Perfect. The flash is giving us 8.8, and the light there is 60 at 11. So it's just a little bit less.
Which way is he pointing it? Is he pointing it correctly?
Yeah, he's pointing it correctly.
All right, up a little bit higher.
Push the test. Perfect. I put the shutter speed on 250, and I've got 8.5 on the flash. And the ambient reading is a 60th at 8.5 also.
All right.
We're matching the light.
All set. We got the flash going. A little bit higher on the flash. Pat, great. And you're shading the sun off of my lens.
Yes.
Chuck, tip your head this way. Okay, Chucky, let's play peekaboo. Cover up your eyes. Where'd he go? Where'd he go? 1, 2, 3. Peekaboo! Yay! Let's go again. Look here at me. 1, 2. That's in the picture there, Pat. Bring it up just a little bit. Just a little bit. Okay, let's go again. 1, 2, 3. Peekaboo! Yay! Look up here at me. I can't see your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Peekaboo! Yay! All right. Simon says hands on your knees. Okay, yeah! Ha ha! Chuck, take your hand off of your knee and hold him underneath his tush so it doesn't look too big. That's it. Simon says, open your mouth. Close your mouth. Nah, Simon says. Turn your face to me and get in closer to your daddy. Get your head up close to daddy. Okay, all set. Let's straighten your head up, Chucky, just a little bit. Who's your man? Yay! Put your hand down. Okay, here's where we need the strobe now. Way up on top of the hill to light their faces. Now lean him back against your arm. Let him lean back against your arm. That's it. And Cindy, pull the hair out from behind your head on the other side. See, on the other side. This side, it's okay. Turn and look at your babe. That's it. Yeah, just pull it out of there, Clay. Chuck, tip your head to your right a little bit. Okay, look at Mommy. Is that funny? Whee! Tickle your mom. Yes! Look at me. Everybody, put your heads real close together. Put your heads real close. Chucky, look here. Chuck, Pat, bring the light in the front now. That's it. Gee, here we go. Put your arms around Mommy. Squeeze her neck. Hug Mommy. Way! Look up here. Open your eyes. I can't see your eyes. That's it. Hug her. Give her a little kiss. Look here at me, Chucky. Turn your face to me, Chucky. Can you see me? That's it. Chucky, turn your face to me. Here we go. Hug her. Squeeze her. Chucky, look up. It's in the picture, Pat. Chucky, look up. Squeeze. Squeeze. Okay, great. The background was perfect. Everything was good. How about a hand for Chuck E. Cheese over there?
Okay, let's look at some of the pictures now. I could have actually used a bare bulb strobe or a strobe with a reflector on it for all of these pictures. As a matter of fact, I changed. But when the faces were pointed towards the camera, I kept the flash at about a 45-degree angle to all of them. I wanted to get equal light distribution and balance it to the light that was in the background so that we could have detail throughout. But when I turned their faces to profile position, I decided to bring the light up on top of the hill to light the father and mother's face, and I put the reflector on here because I felt I needed it to shape their face against the strong backlighting from the sun. Always playing to each other and watching for angles of the face, but more than anything, getting fun expressions to put a whole series together for the family. A wide-angle lens included the whole location.
All right, what I love to do is just look around me and see what the light's doing on the back of your head, on the side of your face, and just to look around and see how people are standing natural. Sometimes we have to make a few changes. But I looked up here on the hill, and Alex has got, I mean, from a low camera position, can you bring the video camera down low and photograph him up against the sky? Well, Alex, you look great. The black against the sky, except what we need to do, Alex, is turn your face a little bit, great, and look into the top of the house there. Smile. Okay. That's beautiful. All we did there is watched and see how he's isolated himself against the sky. And what's so great is everything is light. He's dressed solid black, and he just stands out perfectly. So there was a situation where we did absolutely nothing. Just turned his face again, turn your face to the 2/3 to thin him down. Coming over here, the natural light, there's nothing to do. The sand on the bottom is filling in the shadows. The whole idea is when you see it, shoot it. Let's get Pauline up there, all right, so you can see what's happening. But against the sky. Now what we're doing here, Pauline, are you all in white?
Oh, I think.
Okay, why don't you put the glasses up on top of your head, and that'll hold your hair in place as well. You want to go barefoot?
Whatever you want, boss.
Let's do it. Right up on top of the grass. Okay, let's move over here this way, Pauline, so I can see the grass on the right side of the frame. Still some more. Great. So the way I visualize it, the grass and everything leads up to her. She's going to be in the lower left part of the composition. So I'm just pre-visualizing everything. It's definitely full length. So we're going to have to turn her body at an angle. And it's almost an impossible lighting situation because it's very strong light coming from the left side and then into heavy shadow. So, and we have to control the light on her nose, and probably in this point, going full length, we're going to have to bring in a strong strobe, so it'll be the strobe with the reflector on it. You follow me, Ricardo, on this time? Okay. So Pauline, turn your body to a 45, spread your legs equally weighted on both of them, and if some, just shift your weight back onto your left leg, and just sort of let this foot drag. That's it. Turn your face to the left. Let's see what happens. Great. Turn your face to the left a tiny bit more. Okay, that's going to be great, except that the shadows on her face are going too dark. So now we want her looking to her higher left shoulder. Pauline, lean. That's it. Great. Clay, we're going to have to bring the strobe almost directly in front of her face.
I've got a 60th at 22, so we're going to have to go 250 at 11. 250 at 11, and I'll give you 11 out of the strobe.
You are the boss.
Switch the shutters around.
I'll do it right now.
So 250 at 11, I'll give you 11 out of the strobe. Okay,
Did you understand that?
You're basically wrapping the light around her a little more to cut that
That's right.
shadows, right?
But I'm not putting the strobe from camera position because that's going to wipe everything out.
You're just bringing it
On the profile, I'm just turning her face almost directly into the light. She has the strong light giving us great light in front of her face, and the profile light's going to come in from in front of her nose, and that's going to wrap the light around her.
I got a question.
But we've got to keep her body at a 45. Let me just finish this. I got to keep her body at a 45 and then lean her back to make her looking to her high shoulder. Go ahead,
All right,
Joe.
if you get her in the profile, couldn't you just take a fill light like you do in the studio at a, like a stop below, and if you get the correct look on her face, fill in that way?
There would have to be less than a stop below. It would have to be 2 stops below. But ideally, the fill light here is just the open area. The open sky is the fill light. So we're not looking for a fill light from the strobe. What we're looking for is a light that continually goes from highlights to in-between tones to darker tones. And the light on camera would tend to flatten the shadows out too much. We might even lose some of the folds of the clothing. So let's use the open sky as the fill light. And we're using this to just wrap that strong light around. So let me just shoot the picture and then we'll talk. And your eyes open, we got a maid laughing. Ha ha! Great. Let's do it again. I'm using the front shutter of the camera because the back shutter only sinks to a 90th of a second.
250 at 11?
I was 125th. Should I go 250th?
Either way, 125 is good.
125. Okay, we got it. Doesn't matter.
No, you're right. It's got to be 250, really. It's direct sun and she's in white.
Okay. Pauline, your hips away from me a little bit. Lean back. face out that way. Look at him laughing. Whoa! All right. Anytime we photograph somebody full length, we have to pose the body to camera position. So it's as if she's turning her face to the camera. So a profile pose or a full face pose, let's say a full face pose to the camera, her weight's on the back foot, her front foot's bent, and her head is turned this way to the high shoulder. Now we're going to turn her face to profile, and we have to lean her back this way to make this her high shoulder. So actually what we're doing is we're forcing the high shoulder. But anytime the body's in the picture, you have to pose the body first to look good from camera position. Turn the face to any angle you want it to be. Now if her profile is going towards that shoulder, it's got to be the high shoulder. And that's when we lean her back at the waist to create the high shoulder. We were here in the exact same area yesterday, and so far we haven't duplicated any photographs because the lightings have been so different. It's a much different time of day. The patterns are different. And we know that we can work with a hill. We know that we can work with a flat ground. Let's see if we can put together some groups now on flat ground and see when we don't have a hill, if we can build our own group at different heights. That'll be fun to do. So let's go out on the beach, find the background, let's go backlighting, build a group, 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and just keep adding to it. So what I want to do is, again, backlight, and we have natural fill from the sand, but we just need light direction on the faces. So let's go down around here. Okay, let's just keep adding to the picture. Chuck, come on forward some. Come up a little higher, and turn your face this way. Turn your face to the center. That's it. Too much, too much. Chuck, get in there closer. Okay, now, both of you tilt your head in this way. Turn your face to her just a little bit. All right, so now the light's going to come from this side, pretty much flat, but we need a pretty strong light here. So we're all set. Chuck, get your head in close. Everybody laughing. You got my lens shaded here. Look. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Great. Chuck, come up a little higher. Come in front of her face or her hair a little bit.
Come forward, Chuck. There you go.
Straight, put your head right next to hers. Okay. Chuck smiling, everybody laughing. Whoa, okay.
Great picture.
Okay. The simplicity of it is what's so much fun. And never knowing what we're going to do. Now I'm looking, okay, let's add, okay. All right. Why don't we just come on in behind here. We put 2 more on the side, 1 on top, so we got a group of 4. Let's take a look at the group of 4. And that's kind of cute, isn't it, with all 4 of them like that? You shade my lens like that. Let this hand touch the ground. Great. So what we're doing is we're getting equal spacing between heads. Everybody laughing. Ho, ho, ho. All right. Can we have somebody over here the same way? You want to come in? Come on in here. That's all right. That's kind of fun. All right, let's get a couple more people in here. Come on, guys. Come on. Here, white. What's the difference? I need your head right about here. That's great. Okay, you got to come up taller. We're building in here. I need a head right in through here. Come on, guys.
Come on, Charles.
Everybody.
Come on, Charles. You're an interesting guy.
Everybody's in light colors. Take your jacket off. You're going to blow the whole picture.
Charles, you're dressed.
Come on, Charles. Charles, buddy.
Great. Come on up here, son.
Come on, Carol.
Come on over here and sit on the ground.
Come on, Carol.
Come on, Carol. Let's go. Come on, John.
Sit down. Sit down. Okay, we need a head right over here. Come on, guys. Carol. Carol. Carol.
Good. Go over. He's too ugly. We don't even.
Let me see what's happening.
How are you?
Good. You're in too close. Just pull away. That's it. Okay, do we have anything to stand on? We need, where's the ladder? Stuart, record us. Which place is with her?
Stand on Don. He's not in the picture.
Good, buddy. How you doing up there?
Charles, come up high.
Look around back.
Yeah. Let's go, Heidi. Get down on one knee, Heidi. I think we're in great shape. We just need something up here on the top. Don't you? Okay. We see the height of the camera to see what we're getting in the background.
Oh, looks good. Open up and let's let the background go away. Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. Bring it back 2 feet.
The group is too flat. It needs something kind of. Come on, get in here.
Oh, we have to get to the reception.
Come on around here. Go down on one knee, one down on your left knee. Now what I'm trying to do, believe it or not, there is a composition of this group. Wow.
We're supposed to buy that.
Actually, I wouldn't mind selling you the picture. Everything's for sale. But what we're trying to do is get heads between heads at different heights. So we have some of you seated on the ground. We have some of you seated on your heels. Some of you kneeling and up higher. Some of you standing, leaning over a little bit. Some of you standing straight. And so turn your body to me a little bit more. I need the ladder. Where's the ladder? Hey!
What a fun way to build a group. Remember, it started with just 3 people on the bottom. And then we kept adding people and put it together just like a puzzle to form the pyramid shape that you see right here.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
I have no feeling in my
Let's go in. We'll talk about what we did, and we'll come out again later in the day for something different. Okay. All right. Woo, 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 woo. Okay. It's just too pretty to go in, and it's too exciting. So what I'm noticing, I'm looking at the shadows on the ground. I'm seeing the direction the sun is coming from here. I can turn her and get a profile lighting on her. Let's see, what do I do? Right over here? Yep. Is this giving me profile lighting right now on the side of my face? So we can shoot into the sea, get profile lighting on her, get some sucker to walk out in the water with a strobe. Jackie, walk out into the water with a strobe and light his profile. Real strong light. Turn this way, you front to me. And you're right. Here's what we're gonna do now. Watch this. We're gonna pose her body to the camera. Your camera right over here. So you're gonna have to put your, let's pose. That's it. Turn your face. Okay, there's the lighting on her face. Now, when she's standing this way, she has the ability to let her foot go, cross your foot over this way. What are you doing in here? Okay, that's all right. That's okay. Stay. This foot can come.
I'm just trying to do this.
Let me see what's happening. Let this foot, Pauline, go back this way. Great. Lean back some.
How about a 40 with a polarizer?
Do you have a polarizer?
Monty, can you just lift my jumper up?
Put your hands on your hips. Both hands on. Hold her hand, Pat. Put both your hands on your hips. All right. Do something natural with that hand. No, with your thumb on your hip. That's it. I'm putting her face against the shadowed area of your face. Looking at the profile position. It's going to be great. Let's go.
Oh, yeah?
Dun, dun, dun. Put a polarizer filter in there. Okay, let me just see what we got here now. Somebody shade my lens here. Yes. Tab your chin, pat your chin up. Pat, come step a little bit in front of her. That's it. Tip your head to her. Okay, both of you looking up and laughing. Whoa, great. Pauline, turn your face to me. That's it. Tip the top of your head to me, Pauline. Just a little laughing right up there. Whoa, all right. Good. No, we're not using a flash. And look at her now, just with your eyes. Now I need a strobe here.
Right over closer. Right over
here. Pat, turn your face to the left a little. Okay, laughing. Let's do another one. Let's change this just a little bit. Come on around here. Just spread your legs like she's got hers. Give her your hand and both of yours. Look at her. Too many hands here. Put this hand behind her. Lean back some. You're going to be looking towards him. Now I need the strobe. Where are you? I need the strobe to light his profile right in through here. Come in behind her head onto him real strong. Okay, turn your face to him and let me see what's happening. All right. I got to get better lighting on her face, so come this way a little bit. That's it. And you're going to... It's okay?
Good.
We're going to switch it from a 40 to 150 and we'll show you the difference. We'll take two pictures like this.
Get out of her eyes.
And your hands lower. Way down, way down. That's it, laughing. Pat, turn your face to the right. Pauline, turn your face to me. Laughing. Pauline, your eyes up a little higher. Let's go it again, just like that. Pauline, tip the top of your head to me. Your eyes up there laughing now. Whoa. Now, we're going to stay right there. I'm going to change the lenses to 150 instead of a 40. We'll get a different... That's kind of cute, too. Let's do that, Paulie. So lean back, stick your foot out. Put your hand on...
Wait, the light has to come right here now. Flash it from right over here. Right on her face. Right behind the camera. You got it, right there.
Okay, put your hand on your hip. Lay your head back. Ha ha, look at me. Let's do it again. Point your toe. Just fun. That's what we... Yes.
Again, like we're standing out there.
Well, that's the way we're going to do it with the 150. We didn't have to... See, here's the thing. Depending on where the light is, he didn't have to get in the water.
Oh, it's good this time.
You going to give me a 150 lens? Ooh. We need a warm-up bottle here. Let's do it. Just lean her back. Let your foot kick back. Lean her back here. Get out of her light. Pauline, turn your foot this way to me. Lean back from her. This way. Hold her hand. You're going to come over here and aim it right at him.
How's that look?
Patrick, lean back from her. Hands down lower. Tip your head to me, Patrick. Look up. All right.
Done.
Let's go in. Warm up. Warm up time.
Wow, what a fun day. Look at the 40mm lens includes the whole beach line. But when we use a wide-angle lens like this, we need to keep the subjects close to the camera. These are all available light, just turning the faces to capture the lighting the way we want. But now when we turn him away from the light, we have a flash fill close to the camera to light his face. When we turn them to double profiles, that's natural light on her face and the strobe lighting his profile. That's the 40mm lens, and now we're switching to the 150. Look at the difference. We're concentrating on them, showing much less of a background. Now let's move into a hotel lobby near a waterfall and combine daylight with strobe inside.
30th at 4.
That's the shadow.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have to expose for the windows, which is going to be what?
30th at 16. I don't want to expose for that. I want to really expose for the area in the steps. Let the windows go white. So if I expose for this area in here, '30th at like 5, 6. Let the windows just go white. Let's get detail in here, because if we expose for the windows, then the steps go black. So,
With all the salt and pepper lighting on those steps.
well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go try use this. I'm going to try go straight into the window. So I don't even think we need a bare bulb behind her. I think the natural light behind her. And all we're going to need is one bare bulb to light her front of her face at 5, 6. Let's get 5, 6 on the bare bulb.
Okay.
We'll take a Polaroid test, and I think we have it.
Go ahead, let's meet her.
Put it on non-cord.
Yeah.
Zip it up to like 250th of a second.
Ready?
Yeah. F4. What did I say we needed? 5, 6?
Yeah. You'll come out, this one will look good and bright.
Oh, she's going to be up here at the beginning of the steps.
Almost fine.
4 to 9 is actually exactly what I had on there. Or if I bring it up here in the front a little bit. 4-0, bring it in a little closer. Between 4 and 5, 6, let's try it. All right, so are we going to expose for this or there? Can you get it any brighter?
Only with a reflector.
Let's bring it in a little closer. I'm going to use a 40mm lens. Can you see, look through that 40mm lens, John, and see if the light's in the picture.
Yes. The lights in the picture? Go left. Keep on. Oh, right there. All right. You come into the pattern and play. So, yeah, put it on a 60th and see what it's giving you. Or a 30th.
Okay, let's go with 30th.
Let's clear it.
5, 6, 9.
All right. Shoot it at
So that's daylight and strobe combined, right?
yeah,
So shoot it at
60 at 5, 6. 60 at 5, 6.
60th at 5, 6. Okay. That's a good compromise.
Good Polaroid.
All right. So do we want the Polaroid to be accurate, or do we want the Polaroid to be light?
I would just shoot it at 60 at 5, 6 and see what it does.
Okay.
Pull that Polaroid. That'll be a nice indication to where we're at.
God, that's gorgeous. Put light on him. Look at that. Let's put Pauline there.
The window's reading 60 at 32.
So the window's going white. It's okay, but look at that. We need to take both of those flags off. And what we're doing is that we're exposing for the area around her and matching it with the strobe. We'll see what kind of balance we have. Thank you. No. We're exposing for the light on the steps. Bring it down 1 f-stop and see if we can pick up a little bit more detail. Even the negative would print better than it is. you know, on the Polaroid. But I'd like to bring it down just a little bit deeper in tone. And we'll see what we have. Plus, I'm looking at the symmetry of the rail on this side, and I need some rail on this side. So I'm going to be a little bit more specific about the camera position now. Turn your face me just a tiny bit. And I'm just watching the symmetry of the staircase now. And I think we have it just right. In your eyes, just the touch of a smile.
Just for fun, do another test at a 500, just for fun.
Turn your face to the right, just.
Okay.
Play. What was the one previous to 500?
125th. So we dropped the background down 2 stops. That picture that David Zeiser did that he got so much mileage out of was at a 500.
You try to pick up the lines in the window there.
David, who? On the right-hand side, we're going 125th of a second, and the windows are just blowing completely out. They're so overexposed. On the left side, we went at 500th of a second, but I think it deepens the tones and there's too much detail. I think it takes away from the bride. Particularly, we have to watch this heavy pane center post of the window coming out of the middle of her head here, and I moved her a little bit to the left. I like it better when it's off-center, not coming out of the center of her head. So we're definitely going to move it over, and we're going to go with a lighter background. 125th of a second is going to pull it up. Let's go for it. Let your shoulders relax down. That's better. Okay.
Everything's going.
Gorgeous.
You can walk around. This is the 2/3 profile, full face, back 2/3, back profile. You can do that picture from anywhere.
But we did it full face. Let's review how we got the exposure. We measured the light and exposed for the ambient light on the staircase. A bare bulb to equal it coming from our left to light her face and body. And we actually ended up with another bare bulb behind her dress to highlight her veil all the way down to the bottom. We're always thinking of various ways we can combine strobe with daylight. Here we measured for the light in the background and exposed for it, and brought the strobe in from our left to balance the lighting behind him.
Turn your face to the left a little bit.
After a short rest period, we waited until the sun was just beginning to set and turning golden orange. Then we went outdoors again and posed her, portrait posing, using strictly available light. We never turned her face directly into the sunlight or we'd have flat lighting. Instead, we turned her face just exactly as we would in the studio to achieve this portrait lighting on her profile. A low camera angle isolated her against the sky, 150 millimeter lens, and tipping the camera to achieve the composition. One more time. We were having so much fun, we decided to look for another location and continue the shoot.
Put your hand on your hips. Turn your face to profile. Can I have a bare bulb out here, please? Bare bulb out here, please, in front of her profile. Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. 30th at 4. It's in the picture. You're going to have to get in the water, Clay, or not in the picture at all.
I'll just put it on manual, and it'll give you about F.
Hang it out over the water. Out that way more. It's in the picture. Let me come in closer. Did it go?
Yeah.
Let your left shoulder down a little bit. Face to the left a little bit. Five, six.
Okay, so it's going to be too strong.
Well, it'll darken the sky.
Okay.
That'll be great. The sky will go darker.
Shoes?
Profile, double profile. No shoes, no shoes. That's perfect. What we're doing is we're putting more light on her face then we need, the background is going to go darker. If you have more light on her than on the background has to go darker. Sunset and the color in the sky is going to darken. There's not a lot of color in the sky, but when it goes darker, it's going to look better. Pat, come out a little bit further. Coming up high, getting your heads in the water. Pat, your chin up. Both of you lean back away from the water. That's it. We're actually putting color into the sunset by underexposing it, right? Let's go a little bit even darker than that. Let's go at 8. 30th at 8.
At 8, I'll
Yeah.
bring my light in.
Right, I'm
Have your meter handy?
Yeah, I got the meter handy. Go ahead. 5.6 I'm getting.
60 is at 5.6.
60 to 5.6 I do. Both of you lean back. That's it. Chin up, Pat. Face to the left, Pat. Pauline, your hands on your hips. Your hands on your hips. That's it. Both hands. Pull face to the left, Pauline, just a little bit. Pat, your face to the left. Put the light out over the water as far as you can get it. Pat, your face to the left. Tip the top of your head to Pauline. That's gorgeous.
Make sure I'm not in the picture.
You're not in the picture. I'm going down real low, putting their heads up in the sky. I had their heads below the water before, now coming down low and putting their heads up into the sky. Pat, tip your head to her.
Did you put the reeds down like that? Behind them?
No, it just happened to be there. Go. All right, we got one. No, well, that's it. We've got it. How about a hand for the two of them?
And you're still going to get that background.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. Well, what we did is we underexposed the background a lot.
The exposure was perfect for the sky.
Okay,
Exposed
so
for the sky.
we exposed for the sky and
Brought
just...
the light up on their faces to match.
We lucked out again.
Oh wait, that was for ASA 400.
I don't know. If we had, was it?
No, I'm kidding. It was for
Let's call it a day.
Yes.
Wow, we pulled it off again. Here she is, silhouetted, no strobe. And then when we add the bare bulb to it, just look and see how we're outlining her face and her figure. A little bit more light on her allowed us to print the picture darker and the background get more saturated with color. Then when we brought him into the picture, again, there they are with no flash, almost silhouetted. Add the strobe, and look at that. Incredible, isn't it? But I wasn't quite happy until we lowered the camera position and decided to bring their faces up into the sky. And now I felt like we had accomplished what we set out to achieve. I felt like the whole shoot was a great success.
Wow, do you believe this summer day? And we're sharing it with you. I enjoyed sharing all these techniques with you. I love coming outside, photographing, doing portraits, and sharing all these techniques with you. And just for one last parting shot, I thought I'd show you the backyard of where we're filming at my friend Ellen's house. I wish I could say it was my backyard. But in the meantime, here we are, and this is the setting for these little segments of the tape. It's been exciting, it's been fun, and we're going to have fun again in the next few tapes we'll be making. Watch for us because we're going to have lots of ideas and lots of fun, lots of excitement